From coast to coast, what matters, when it matters. This is today's talk. Your world, your news, right now.
All right, you sent over quite the collection from the New York Times for Monday, April 14th, 2025. It really does feel like a snapshot of what's going on right now, doesn't it?
It really does. I mean, everything from universities pushing back against the government to whispers of Republicans maybe thinking about taxing the rich. It's quite a mix.
Yeah, it is. So our job today, basically, is to wade through it all and, pull out the stuff that's actually going to stick with you, the things that make you go, that's interesting.
Exactly. We're looking at these online news articles, sort of daily pulse of the nation, and we want to go deeper than just the headlines for everyone listening. What are the real stories here, and why should they matter?
Okay, let's jump right into it then. First up, Harvard University. They're in a bit of a standoff with the Trump administration. What's the core of this tug of war?
Well, what's really fascinating here is this fundamental question of autonomy for higher education.
Right.
The Trump administration is calling for what they're calling merit-based reform in Harvard's hiring and admissions.
Okay, merit-based reform. What does that actually mean in practice, do we know?
Well, the specifics aren't totally clear, but it suggests they want changes based more on, say, quantifiable achievements rather than maybe the broader range of factors Harvard currently considers.
And Harvard's reaction? Not exactly thrilled, I take it.
Not at all. They're basically arguing these demands are unlawful. They see it as the federal government overstepping its bounds, interfering with how a university should operate.
It touches on that whole idea of academic freedom, right? Who gets to decide?
Exactly. And it feels like, this isn't just about Harvard itself. The article hints there's a bigger picture.
Yeah. What's the sense there?
If you connect the dots, this definitely aligns with a strategy we've heard from President Trump and some conservatives, this idea that elite universities lean too far left and they want to rebalance that.
So this could be part of a larger push? Interesting.
It's certainly causing ripples in the academic world, yeah.
Okay, now, shifting to a story that, feels like it's wandered out of a movie script. This Maryland man mistakenly deported to El Salvador. What's the latest there?
It's a really, really troubling situation. This individual was wrongly deported, and now there's a U.S. court basically urging the White House to step in and get him back.
You'd think that would be pretty straightforward, right? A mistake was made, fix it.
You'd think so. But the reporting suggests the White House's stance is, rather dismissive
towards a court order and someone wrongly deported.
That seems to be the implication. It raises some really serious questions about accountability, within our immigration system.
Yeah.
And the very real human impact of these kinds of errors.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, in a bit of a political head-scratcher, there's talk about Republicans potentially considering taxing the rich. That's not exactly their usual playbook, is it?
It certainly isn't. It just highlights how political landscapes can shift, I guess. Whether this is a genuine policy change being considered, or maybe more of a strategic talking point. It's definitely something that would have raised eyebrows not too long ago.
Makes you wonder what's driving that conversation, yeah.
Definitely.
And President Trump continues to face legal challenges. There's a new lawsuit, this time in Colorado, about his use of the Alien Enemies Act.
That's right. The core argument in these lawsuits generally revolves around whether the Alien Enemies Act is being applied appropriately.
Okay.
It was originally intended for wartime, dealing with citizens of enemy nations. The argument is that using it for current immigration policies might be stretching its original scope.
So basically, are they using the right tool for the job? That's the question.
That's the legal debate, yes. Is this the appropriate legal framework for the administration's current approach?
Then there's this pretty disturbing report about a company. Their surveillance technology is described as making immigrants easy pickings. That sounds bleak.
It does. It really brings the ethics of this stuff to the forefront. Increasingly sophisticated surveillance tech and how it might disproportionately impact vulnerable groups.
Yeah, the intersection of tech and immigration enforcement. Lots to unpack there.
For sure.
Okay, moving to the economic front. President Trump is floating the idea of new tariffs, computer chips and drugs this time, but maybe some relief for the auto industry. Sounds confusing for businesses.
Oh, definitely. Businesses are probably trying to read the tea leaves here because tariffs, they can have such widespread economic consequences.
Like what are we seeing already?
Well, one immediate effect being noted is a falling dollar. For a long time, the U.S. dollar has been seen as a kind of safe haven for investors during uncertain times globally.
Right.
When its value drops, it can signal maybe a shift in that perception. It could potentially rattle international markets.
Yet, despite all this tariff talk, stocks are reportedly inching upwards. How does that work?
That cautious rise, it likely reflects a few things. Markets can be surprisingly resilient. Maybe there's some hope these tariffs won't fully happen or they'll be revised.
Or maybe something else. There was that report about Representative Green.
Ah, yes. The report alleging she profited from a stock purchase right before a tariff pause was announced. That certainly adds a layer of intrigue, doesn't it? Raises questions about potential insider info.
It absolutely does. And in a very concerning development, we also saw reports of an attack on Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro's residence. That feels like a really worrying sign.
It is a deeply concerning event. An attack like this, it just underscores the heightened tensions in our political climate right now, raises real fears about the safety of public officials.
Yeah, scary stuff. Okay, let's pivot now to the tech world. Mark Zuckerberg was in court, defending Meta against an antitrust lawsuit. This is about Instagram and WhatsApp again.
That's the one. This is a really significant case. I mean, it could have major implications for Meta's whole business structure and maybe even for big tech generally.
What's the core argument against them?
The core argument is that by buying up potential competitors like Instagram and WhatsApp way back when, Meta basically eliminated competition, that it stifled innovation in the social media market.
Right. The article even poses that what if Meta hadn't bought them? It's kind of hard to imagine that alternate reality now.
It really is. Would we have seen different platforms rise up? Would Instagram and WhatsApp have gone in totally different directions on their own? It's a thought experiment with huge implications for how we all interact online today.
Definitely. Okay, moving into culture. There's a profile of Natalie Winters, a young reporter with a White House press pass described as Trump-friendly. What does her presence tell us about the dynamics in the press corps now?
Well, it suggests maybe a changing of the guard, perhaps, within the White House briefing room. It highlights the increasing visibility of reporters from outlets that are seen as more sympathetic to the current administration.
Interesting shift. We also noted the passing of actress Jean Marsh, co-creator of Upstairs, Downstairs. Wow, that's a piece of television history.
Absolutely. Upstairs, Downstairs was such a landmark show, wasn't it? That fascinating look at different social classes under one roof. Her passing is definitely a moment to reflect on that show's impact.
For sure. Then we had the Blue Origin crew returning safely. Gayle King and Katy Perry were on board. The article framed this as extreme capitalism. What's the thinking there?
The framing, I think, likely points to the huge resources needed for space tourism. And it raises questions, could those resources be better used for problems here on Earth?
Right.
Having famous people like King and Perry on board just amplifies the whole spectacle, the sense that this is really a pursuit for the ultra-wealthy.
Yeah, makes sense. On a slightly lighter, maybe more whimsical note, there was a dog of honor in a custom dress at the wedding of the Dogist photographer.
Yes.
That's certainly a sign of our times, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. It just shows the unique place pets have in our lives now and the increasingly personalized, sometimes elaborate ways we include them at big moments.
Very true. For sports fans, the WNBA draft is generating a lot of buzz around Paige Bueckers. Sounds like a major talent coming into the league.
Paige Bueckers is definitely a name to watch, yeah. All the excitement around her joining the WNBA suggests she could be a really transformative player, bring a lot of new energy.
Cool. Okay, international news. The Orban government in Hungary is escalating its culture war, mandating only 2 genders in the constitution. That's a pretty definitive move.
It is a significant and, frankly, controversial move. It sparked a lot of debate internationally, raising concerns about the rights and recognition of transgender and non-binary people there.
Back in the States, former Governor Andrew Cuomo announced a new housing plan, and he mentioned ChatGPT.
Yep. Yeah, it really highlights how AI is just weaving its way into all sorts of discussions now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Even things like public policy and urban development.
Makes you wonder how AI might actually shape those kinds of plans down the road.
Exactly.
We also had a 5.2 magnitude earthquake in Southern California, just a reminder that nature always gets a word in.
Absolutely. A stark reminder of those powerful geological forces just doing their thing and the need to be prepared, even with all the human news swirling around.
Closer to home for many, New York City restaurants are apparently facing new challenges. Trying to get outdoor dining going again, but there are new rules, higher costs. Sounds tough.
It really underscores the ongoing struggles for small businesses, doesn't it? especially in cities. Navigating changing rules, economic pressures, trying to recover post-pandemic, it's a lot.
Yeah. Sadly, we also learned about the passing of former NHL player Chris Simon. He'd been diagnosed with stage 3 CTE. Brings that whole issue of head injuries in sports right back into focus.
It's a really poignant reminder, isn't it? The potential long-term health risks associated with repeated head trauma in sports, and the growing awareness now of conditions like CTE.
Very tragic. And finally, just touching on local news, an explosion down in Austin damaged homes, injured people.
Right. Just goes to show that significant, impactful news happens at the local level, too. Underscores community safety and just the unexpected things that can impact people right where they live.
Okay, turning our attention finally to world affairs. President Trump described Russia's deadly strike on a Ukrainian city, Sumy, I think it was, as horrible. That's quite direct from him.
It is a notable statement.
Yeah.
Especially given some past comments.
Yeah.
The reports mentioned a high number of casualties, and the Ukrainian leader actually appealed directly for President Trump to come see the war firsthand. That adds weight.
Wow. And we also saw the Orban government's gender mandate in Hungary pop up again here in the World Affairs section. Really shows its international resonance.
Exactly. It just underscores how domestic policy decisions in one country can echo globally and get viewed in the context of these broader international socio-political trends.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive into Monday's news, a few key threads seem to run through it all. We're seeing these tensions, right, between established institutions like Harvard and political forces. There's economic uncertainty swirling around trade policies.
Yeah, and the rapid evolution of tech keeps reshaping things. Plus, just this wide range of cultural moments, from the everyday dog wedding dress to space tourism.
It was definitely more than just a quick scan of the headlines. We tried to peel back a few layers, explore some of the underlying forces.
Hopefully gave people a bit more context.
And on that note, here's something maybe to chew on, thinking about this pushback from Harvard against the White House, right?
Yep.
And then alongside that, the potential for these big shifts in global trade with new tariffs. What does that tell us about how America currently defines its own strength and influence?
Interesting question.
Are we sort of reevaluating what our priorities are, how we project power, both at home and, internationally? It feels like these seemingly separate stories might actually be different sides of a larger evolving picture. Something to think about. Thanks for taking the deep dive with us.